Good morning. I'm Hassan Giordano, and this is your DMV Daily Dose for Friday, December 20th, 2019.
It's currently clear and 21 degrees in Baltimore. Expect partly cloudy skies starting tonight. Today's high will be 35 degrees, and the low will be 21.
Mark Reuter of the Baltimore Brew is reporting that the agency responsible for collecting the city's trash is itself beset with wasteful practices. At least so says Inspector General Isabel Mercedes Cummings. Mismanagement, lack of accountability, and poor employee deployment have overshadowed the hard work of the men and women of the Bureau of Solid Waste, a division within the Department of Public Works, according to a report issued by her office. The investigation found that curbside pickup frequently undergoes route delays because the agency is chronically understaffed, leading to garbage piling up on the streets and alleys even as overtime costs skyrocket. In fiscal year 2018, solid waste spent more than $1.1 million above the $406,844 budgeted for overtime, or twice as much as it saved by not filling permanent positions, Cummins says. In a review of overtime slips at the agency's Reed Bird and Bowlings Lane yards, investigators found questionable justifications for overtime, wasteful overtime practices, and discrepancies in the actual overtime worked by an employee and the number of compensated hours. Among the pickup crews, overtime was skewed. A few employees doubled or nearly doubled their regular salary with 1,000 or more hours of overtime, while other employees got as little as 1 hour of overtime per year. The Baltimore Sun's Phil Davis is reporting on a Baltimore Department of Public Works supervisor and other city employees who engaged in an extortion scheme in which they used city resources to install and maintain various services for private developers in exchange for cash, at least according to a federal indictment just filed in the U.S. District Court of Baltimore on Wednesday. Prosecutors charged Ronald Maurice Smith, a supervisor who typically worked a midnight to 8 a.m. shift at the department, with extortion and illegal possession of a firearm. Smith is alleged to have received at least $64,000 as a result of the scheme. As for the weapons charge, the office wrote that Smith allegedly possessed a .380 caliber handgun on February 5, 2016, despite a previous felony conviction. Now, Maryland Matters Judge Kurt is reporting on the candidates running for the vacant 7th Congressional District following the death of Congressman Elijah Cummings, including those who are using the recent impeachment of President Donald Trump to raise money for their campaigns. Former Congressman Kwesi Mfume said, quote, he watched with a mix of sadness and resolution as the House impeachment vote went down. Mfume closed his appeal this way, that I am ready to speak up and stand up for what is right and to fight back against that which is wrong, but I can't do it without you. And former Maryland Democratic Chairwoman Maya Rockeymoore Cummings, the late congressman's widow, was out with a fundraising appeal within minutes of the impeachment vote. She said congressional Democrats, quote, took a stand for our democracy and upheld their oaths of office to defend the Constitution. And she vowed that she will, quote, be a fierce defender of democracy as my husband was in Congress, and it would be an honor to build upon his legacy. Running against several women in the February 4th special election primary, Maryland Matters says that Mfume's campaign on Thursday announced the formation of the Women for Mfume, a group of several dozen women who are publicly supporting the congressional candidate. It will be led by Thelma Daley, a former national president of Delta Sigma Theta, and includes former state senators Shirley Nathan Pulliam and Joan Carter Conway, former Baltimore City Councilwoman Ricky Spector, Prince George's County Council member Jolene Ivey, and meanwhile, another candidate for Cummings' seat, former state delegate and current Senator Jill P. Carter, is expected to announce an endorsement of her own on Friday, as Baltimore City Councilman Ryan Dorsey is set to support the sitting current state senator for the 41st District. The Baltimore Sun's Talia Richmond is reporting that faced with the prospect of paying for expensive education reforms, Baltimore leaders questioned Thursday night whether to revisit a long-term multi-million-dollar deal under which a major nonprofit institution makes annual payments to the city instead of paying taxes. Now, a 2016 Memorandum of Understanding arranged for Baltimore's medical and educational anchor institutions to pay the city $6 million annually over the next decade, acknowledging that the nonprofits benefit from city services even though they don't have to pay property taxes. Now, these institutions collectively own more than $5 billion worth of property, city documents state, and if that was taxed, it would bring the city more than $120 million a year, far more than the $6 million that they're paying over the next decade. Now, local union leaders and advocates say that this payment in lieu of taxes shortchanges the city and the deal's terms must be renegotiated. Activists rallied outside of City Hall yesterday ahead of Thursday's hearing to demand that Johns Hopkins University, the University of Maryland Medical Center, and a dozen other nonprofits pay more. Quote, "It's time for the city to reopen the pilot agreement and make them pay their fair share," said Terrell Askew, a member of the Fair Development Roundtable and United Workers. He goes on to say that this is one step the city can take to end the war on Baltimore's poor and work towards building a healthier present and a more equitable future. Well, I'm your man, Mr. Politics, and this has been your DMV Daily Dose for Friday, December 20th, 2019. For more information on the articles that I've mentioned, just go on over to that website, www.dmvdaily.news.